Patrick Mahomes is basically God playing quarterback.
Chiefs Kingdom
live.
So on at it. What's hot? Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni.
And when it's grim, be the Grim Reaper and go get it.
It's Mahomes' house, and it is good. Woo! Arrowhead, man.
The Lombardi Trophy has a red and gold reflection.
You gotta fight for your right to party.
Woo! Let's go. Howdy, Chiefs Kingdom. It's Wednesday. It's 8 o'clock. It's Chiefs Kingdom Live. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, while you're here, if you would, real quick, before you forget, click or tap that like, click or tap that subscribe, tell some friends, tell some family members, tell some Chiefs fans. Help spread the word. We'd sure appreciate it. Got a good show lined up tonight. You couldn't tell it was the off season with all the stuff we have to talk about. But we'll get into some player news, the Rashee Rice situation, which is still a little murky, but it looks like it's clearing up maybe a little bit, what that means for the team. The Chiefs have brought some people in and re-signed some old friends, and there's a vote for stadium renovations to talk about. There's some other news around the NFL, some big pieces moving in the AFC. We'll get to that. Good to see everybody in the chat. Looks like we got Maria and Brenda and John C. already checking in. I'm sure we'll get Laney and Doug and maybe Big Chris and the rest of the crew. Kevin's in there. Good to see you, Kevin. Hope everybody's doing well. Before we kind of get into the show tonight, fellas, how we doing? Nick, you doing good?
Yeah, man. I'm doing well. Just getting into springtime here in Kansas City. Kind of disappointed with how the vote went. I know we'll talk about it, but other than that, everything's good. How about you, Bo? How you doing?
No, yeah, same. Getting ready for the spring. Found this in the closet. Had to dust it off, so got all the dust off. It's good to go.
I thought that was like one of those like animated background filter things,
No, it's 100% real. Shout out to the mother-in-law for hooking me up with that one.
So
for those just listening, I got a pretty cool Super Bowl display case from one of the local grocery stores here. It's pretty massive and pretty awesome. So that's my new background. But doing good. Scotty, how you doing, man?
Well, I need everybody in the chat to vote if that Super Bowl LVII display that Bo's got there belongs like in the Chiefs cave here with all the other Chiefs stuff. I mean, it looks like you're in a garage with some woodworking stuff or something. I can't even tell what that is back there.
Like I said, I pulled it out of the closet, man.
I think it would just look
it's
better.
2 months old already.
with all the other Chiefs stuff. But no, I'm doing good. That is badass, by the way. I love that. That's sick. So nice score by Bo. Yeah, doing good. The weather's turning more towards summer than winter here, and lots going on in Chiefs Kingdom. The draft is what, like a few weeks away here?
Yeah, that's close.
Yeah.
They'll be doing schedule release here before too long, so Chiefs are making moves and things are happening, and I'm doing real well. Let's first thing I guess we'll get into. I'm sure everybody watching is aware of the Rashee Rice incident. A multi-car accident involving a car registered or leased to Rashee Rice, and also a car that may or may not have been rented by Rashee Rice. It was murky as to whether or not he was there, and there was some pictures, and it was like, is that Rashee Rice or is that not Rashee Rice? The social media, especially if you were on X, and I imagine probably Facebook and Instagram were probably the same way. Lots of speculation about what happened. Rashee Rice was kind of, I don't want to say in hiding, but just no word from him there for a couple days. And it was like the authorities are looking for him. And it's kind of a wild story. Since then, Rashee Rice has lawyered up and put out a couple statements, one through his lawyer and then one on his Instagram today, saying that he's met with Dallas police and that he is cooperating and that he apologizes for the accident that occurred. I mean, I know here on CKL, we don't like to speculate. Innocent till proven guilty in the legal system here in the US of A. The league will do their own investigation, and whether or not he gets a suspension or not, I'll just say it doesn't look good for Rashee Rice right now.
No,
Doesn't look
no,
good.
not at all.
Again, we're short on details, and all we have to go off of is like TMZ reports and obviously the statements that Rashee put out. Nick, Rashee Rice, I mean, do you thinking he's looking like a lot of trouble, a little trouble? Don't know yet. And also, with the draft coming up, do you think that affects how the Chiefs attack the draft maybe earlier in that first or second round?
Yeah, I mean, look, they signed Hollywood Brown, so I think they got
That helps.
another solution at wide receiver there. So I don't think it's going to change how they draft. I think that, from my understanding is Rice doesn't have like a criminal background, right? And
No.
so given the fact that, you know, Clark Hunt is big in that area and, that he's a wealthy football player, I'm sure that they'll work out something so it's not, too egregious of a penalty for a first time offender. I mean, I believe in second chances. We've talked about this on the show. I think that we all did probably some questionable things in our youth when we were that age. And probably, some of us, and me included, probably would have done more questionable things. Like if I had access to the amount of wealth that some of these guys have
The
access to.
Lamborghinis and Corvettes.
Yeah, I mean, so my heart goes out to everybody involved, right? The people that were just trying to drive home or drive to work or, go to the grocery store, and, you got people doing dumb stuff in supercars, on a public road. It's not to condone anything, right? I don't ever condone people doing stuff, and thankfully, nobody looks like they were seriously injured. But I mean, I think he's going to play, again in the NFL. It's not like a rug situation where it's like you're definitely done, and you definitely deserve whatever punishments you receive. So I think he'll play. Like I think it's will he play this year? We've seen where some of these legal things just do take a while to flesh out. But we saw with Justin Ross this past year where it's like, well, okay, they don't even need to wait for things to flesh out. They'll just put him on the exempt list and then like assess that against his suspension or whatever. So we'll see how it unfolds. I mean, I don't think it's going to affect what the Chiefs do, but I definitely think that he's got a suspension coming. And to be honest, if that's what happened, right, and he was involved in that, then like he deserves to be suspended. But I just think it's it's an unfortunate situation for like there are no winners here, right? So wish everybody the best who's involved.
Bo, what do you think? I mean, is he looking at suspension? Do you think the Chiefs draft differently because of it? Does it get pushed out until next year? How do you think you see this thing going without speculating? Or I don't want you to say how many games do you think he's going to miss, anything like that. But what are your thoughts? I guess.
I mean, if we look at what past events have caused for suspension, I would say that he's probably going to get suspended. We've seen guys get suspended for breaking a vacuum in their house, right? So this goes a little bit further than that, kind of harming the public and all that stuff. The weird thing with our justice system, though, is I've seen it firsthand with people here in New Mexico and some other kind of celebrity type people is when you leave the scene of a crime and you like have the evidence with you, like, no, it's a bad look, but legally, like it does them a lot, like, right? They can't prove what kind of conditions they were in, what they had in the car, what was in the bags and stuff. So, I mean, like that was a little strange. I mean, I hate to speculate too much, but I just saw 3 videos of dudes getting out with bags in their cars and just leaving the scene of the accident. I think that is the reporting that is out there. So I'm not saying anything too crazy, but as far as him playing, I kind of echo Nick's sentiments. I see him playing again, whether or not it's this year, who knows, but definitely kind of seeing some trouble coming his way as far as not playing or not.
Yeah, I mean, just first and foremost, thank God he doesn't sound like anybody was injured seriously. Not that minor injuries aren't, a bad deal for those people. Obviously, we don't want to see anybody get injured, but nobody lost their life. It doesn't look like, obviously. So I hate to say too much because I wasn't there and I don't know what happened and we don't have a lot of the details. I don't know if he was driving one of the cars or if he wasn't driving one of the cars. I am a firm believer as far as criminal go, innocent until proven guilty. And just because you got a lawyer doesn't mean you're guilty, right?
Right.
So I'll just leave it as if he was driving, and if it, if it's what it looks like, if that's what it is, then I think he's probably in a fair amount of trouble legally and with the NFL. So I think if you're the Chiefs, you got to kind of plan on. I mean, we saw this with McCole Hardman, right? The Chiefs were worried that Tyreek Hill might be looking at a suspension when the situation with his son being injured occurred, and there was some stories out there and some reports that he had caused the injury to his son. I don't think the team ever admitted that they drafted McCole Hardman because they thought maybe Tyreek Hill was going to be gone or was going to miss a season or a lot of time. But I think it definitely affected the way they made that draft pick and bringing McCole Hardman in. Not that, he was ever as good as Tyreek Hill. But so, I mean, if you're the Chiefs, you got the three-peat to think about. Obviously, the signing of Hollywood Brown helps.
Things were just going too smooth, huh?
Right, yeah. But, I mean, I think if you were on the fence as to whether or not you were going to draft a wide receiver with that 32nd pick or if you were debating if you were 50-50 on maybe trading up to move up in the second round earlier to get a wide receiver, I think it definitely tilts the scales in that direction, at least a little bit. I don't think it's a situation where Rashee Rice's career is over, or I think he's going to miss an entire season. But I wouldn't be surprised if he missed 8 games or more. Like you said, Bo, Willie Gay broke a vacuum cleaner. Now, that was a domestic situation. There might have been more to that we don't know about. Being aggressive and with, a woman or a domestic partner in a domestic situation like that, that's a bad look. Even if it is just breaking property, still not something that you want to be doing. So could be signs of a more serious problem. Obviously, like the Rashee Rice situation, we don't have all the details, and the legal process worked itself out. He got 4 games. Von Miller, though, had some accusations, right? Or had a situation last year himself.
Oh, yeah.
And he didn't get anything. So trying to guess what the league is going to do or predict how they're going to punish somebody is a fool's errand as far as I'm concerned. Like,
yeah, I agree.
But I do expect him to miss some time this year. I'm not even going to try to venture a guess as to how long, if it's the beginning of the season, the end of the season. But I think the Chiefs need to plan on at least not having Rashee Rice out there for part of the season.
What do you think would get him off the hook, right? Like, let's say, like, some weird chance. He just, right circumstance, he gets to – there's no criminal charges, no nothing, right? And the NFL does their review, and they find nothing, and he gets to play scot-free. What do you think? That means, like, he wasn't driving, like, he maybe even wasn't him? I don't know. What do you guys think would, like, get him no penalty?
No legal charges.
Optimistic?
No legal charges, and somebody else that was there or other people are there that step up and take all of the blame and cover for him.
That's good.
I mean, other than that, I think he's gonna get some discipline. Nick?
Yeah, I mean, it would be difficult to say, well, we get him no penalties, but I think putting out, hey, I'll be responsible for everything I'm involved in on Instagram means they've already somewhat come to a resolution. I mean, that's not admitting guilt, but I think putting that out there and saying, hey, look, for whatever I'm responsible for, I'm going to own up to it. I think he probably talked to the Chiefs. He probably talked to his lawyer. His lawyer probably talked to, the people. His lawyer that he hired, I think, is pretty well connected, right? Ex-state senator or something for Texas.
Yeah.
So I think they probably know what the resolution is going to be already, and that's why you're seeing that statement come out. I don't know. That's speculation. I don't know anything more than anybody. I will say that people that were going out on the internet and saying that him being quiet was a bad look or implying guilt, like I fundamentally disagree with that. Like,
me too.
You have the right to remain silent, right? So it's
and
not a
will be
show.
Used against you in a court of law, right? Like,
right.
It will
not
be.
made
No question.
you.
Yeah,
You
it will be used. Exactly.
Yeah, no. yeah, you definitely have a right to remain silent, and you don't have to give up anything that's going to make yourself look guilty. I think people that were saying that, though, were like, this dude hasn't – if you were completely innocent and someone had borrowed your car and wrecked it and ran off on foot and left it there and it wasn't you and you could prove it wasn't you, you would have gone to the police by now and said, hey, this wasn't me. Like, I don't know, you're looking for me. I'll cooperate. I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, maybe.
Again, I mean, I get where they were coming from that, but no, just being quiet or hiring a lawyer is not an admission of guilt at all.
Yeah. Always talk to a lawyer first, folks.
So, yeah. Again, just thankful that no one, it looks like, was seriously injured and no one lost their life.
Right.
And maybe it'd be a learning lesson for a young guy that I don't want to say get out of jail free card, but maybe, sometimes you make mistakes and the consequences aren't nearly as severe or as bad as they were. Maybe you learn from that and you get a little lucky in a situation like that. Sometimes you don't. So hopefully whatever his involvement was or whatever happened, if he did have something to do with it and it was his responsibility, just hope he learns from it and moves on from it and doesn't have anything happen like that again. Other player news, the Chiefs, they were down to one running back on the roster, right? With Isaiah Pacheco, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, free agent, Jarrett McKinnon, free agent. I know they brought Nick's guy in, Louis Reese-Zammit, the rugby player.
The rugby
He's
guy?
designated as a running back on the roster. But really, like, having true running back, Chiefs were down to one running back. They bring J.K. Dobbins in, which kind of piqued everybody's interest, mine included. A supremely talented player. I thought he was the best running back in his draft class when he came out.
He was good.
Injuries, unfortunately for him, have kind of had his career stuck in neutral, right? If healthy, that would be a hell of an addition.
Yeah.
Then you see later that night, the Chiefs re-sign Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which anybody who's watched this show for any period of time knows how we feel about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Seems like a great guy, seems like a great teammate. Is not the worst player ever, but is also just
lackluster.
He's just a guy, you know what he is, right? And he's played more games, and he's had more yards and more touches and about the same amount of seasons as J.K. Dobbins. Obviously, that's because Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been able to stay healthier than J.K. Dobbins, and he also was in a backup role the last year and a half. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been. I've seen reports, though, that doesn't mean the J.K. Dobbins deal is dead. He could still come in and sign with the team. They need another running back, I believe. Nick, thoughts on the Chiefs bringing back CEH and J.K. Dobbins possibly signing? How do you feel about that?
I think we talked about this earlier in the season before it was over, and I was like, I think he's done enough. They're going to sign him to another year. You guys were like, no way.
I thought you were trolling me, man. I didn't think there was any way. But
yeah,
I just laugh.
No. I seriously was like, he did enough. They're going to sign him. They're going to give him another year. And to be honest, like for like a backup or third string type guy, like he did enough when Pacheco was hurt to warrant them to bring him back. I mean, they obviously like him. Look, he's not going to set the world on fire, but he had some good carries and some into game situations. I just think they're comfortable with him and they know what they've got.
Didn't he have the fumble and what game was that? In garbage time at the end against the Bengals? Or was that against?
No, that was in Miami. Yeah, or not in Miami, against Miami here in that was the playoff game. So other than that playoff fumble, he did great. I'm not saying they should have signed him. I just feel like I felt based on what he did that they were going to sign him.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you think that was a smart move, a bad move, an indifferent move? I mean, I don't.
When you can get an Isaiah Pacheco type guy in the 7th round, like why would you even bother? I guess, but
right.
I don't know. I think that winning 3 Super Bowls in 5 years, like means that I'm gonna defer to Brett Veach knows what he's doing here.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've got a known quantity, right? In against like rolling the dice in the draft. So I feel like they knew what they were getting, and they feel like what they know that they're getting is good enough at that price to not warrant wasting a draft pick on somebody at that position. So is it what I would do as a GM? No, but
Yeah,
I'm
kind of like a
some
bird
dude.
in hand is worth two in the bush kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly, right.
What do you think about J.K. Dobbins? Do you want to see the Chiefs bring him in, or the injury stuff too much for you?
I
Stay
think
away?
it was every Chiefs fan's favorite person, Mike Florio, was talking about how they probably brought in Dobbins to negotiate with Hilaire better, right? Where they're like, well, we'll just bring in J.K. Dobbins. He's like, no, I'll sign, because it was like very, close timing there. But I don't know. I would rather have a guy that is going to be on the field versus somebody who's injury prone, right? The best ability is availability. You could have all the talent in the world, but if you can't stay healthy, we've needed CEH because other guys got hurt, so that's just, I would rather go with somebody that I know can consistently get touches and stay on the field personally.
Scott, do you think it was a negotiation tactic with the whole CEH Dobbins moves this week?
I mean, it was either that or they brought J.K. Dobbins in, and J.K. Dobbins wanted more money than they were comfortable giving a guy with his injury history. So they were like, okay, well,
Sure.
we'll sign CEH. I just, when I saw the J.K. Dobbins thing, I was like, ooh, like that's interesting. And then, like, later that night, it was Chiefs signed CEH. I was like, ugh. I'm trying to think of a good analogy, right? Like,
dude, how many moves like that, though, have we experienced in these past couple of years where, like, if you were the GM, you're like, I wouldn't have done that. I think the last words out of my mouth 2 weeks ago were like, yeah, Snead is going to definitely play for us, right? And that turned out so well, right? So these moves that they make, it just seems so dumbfounding, but I know that they have their method to their madness right behind the scenes a little bit.
Now, if they keep CEH and then they let Jet McKinnon go, how are you going to feel about that?
I don't know. Jet McKinnon had the knee injury at the end of the year. Now, kudos to that guy. Tough SOB, made it back in time and played in the Super Bowl, right? He's getting to an age where I don't know how much longer he's got left in the tank, right? But I get where the Chiefs are going. CEH knows the offense. You're familiar with him. You know he's a good teammate. But again,
you sat him for the Super Bowl last year, and he
right. I feel like you know what you've got with him
every day.
Right. I just feel like you could have gone with more of like an upside potential guy at that position than him.
And maybe they will. Maybe I brought that up because I see that's probably, if I had to guess, what's going to happen. And then, Brenda's saying, hey, get Schrader from Mizzou in the draft.
Travis is bringing up the point I was going to bring. Like, him and McKinnon both are great on protection packages, right? I can see why they would want to sign both of those guys for protecting Mahomes. I mean, that right there, you don't want to bring some guy in and leave Mahomes open for a game or two while he's still learning the flow of things.
Yeah, I think Jerick McKinnon is a better pass protector than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Not to say that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a bad pass protector, but I feel like if you were going to just bring one of those two guys back for pass protection, I probably would have gone with Jerick McKinnon.
Me too.
Maybe Jerick McKinnon's still trying to get a payday. Maybe he's not willing to sign a 1-year deal.
He was hurt a lot though this year, man. Little tiny injuries, nothing too devastating, but always on
the wrong side of list for a running back. That's a huge deal.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm still hopeful the Chiefs could bring in J.K. Dobbins. I mean, what are the odds he's going to get hurt again? Like one of those things, right?
Dude, don't say that with a player who's injury prone.
What are you saying? It's about time to roll a 7? Is that what you're saying, Scotty?
Right. Yeah.
Look at that. It's 5 reds. It can't possibly be a red again.
Blackjack with 19s
You know what
and
the odds
19s and
are?
20s. Like you got to
Right.
win eventually.
Is Zamet going to be wide receiver, running back, fullback, or all three?
He's gonna be kick returner for the new kickoff returns.
Yeah, listed as a running back. I saw some people say he was listed as running back / wide receiver. I would be surprised if he's out playing a lot of wide receiver. He's
Me
big
too.
and he's fast, but running routes and catching the ball downfield is such a different and difficult skill set from what he did in rugby. If you go through and watch some video of the USFL or the XFL and how the new kickoff is going to work, that looks almost exactly like a rugby play.
Yeah, dude, that's what that's Veach and everybody playing 4D chess right there, knowing exactly what they were getting out of him.
Right. How much like you actually see him in as running back and getting carries and touches? Maybe you throw screen passes to him. That's similar maybe to the role he played, right, in the rugby and the Wales rugby team.
Dude, that was our MO this year.
Let his speed and his size and his elusiveness kind of take over and maybe be able to break some big plays there. But as far as him being a wide receiver out wide, running routes, catching passes, 25, 30, 40 yards downfield, I don't see a lot of that. I mean, what do you guys think, Bo? What do you think we see him running routes, playing wide receiver, or?
Realistically, no, man. But I remember getting pissed off so many times this year that we wouldn't throw it across the line of scrimmage. And then with like keeping that in mind, I could definitely see him just doing quick passes, right? That's exactly what they do in rugby. Just that quick, shoot down the line and then go beat the men in front of you, read who's down the field and know how to beat them. I could see him being implemented a little bit sooner than we're thinking. I'm with you though. I'm realistically thinking like, no, he's probably just gonna be more of like a returner to start, get a feel. It's a different game completely. So like get a hand, just getting a feel for the size of the ball. I mean, those rugby balls are so much bigger than a football, right? Yeah. So I mean, like he's probably got to get a little bit more sure-handed before they just throw him in and have him start studying the route tree, though.
Right. Good to see you, Travis. Thanks for swinging by. Appreciate you popping in and saying hello.
Yep, for sure, sir. Thank you.
Nick, Zamet, what do you think you see out of him other than maybe just kick return?
Yeah, if they use him, maybe he's like a Taysom Hill type deal where they kind of maybe throw him in a little bit everywhere, maybe mostly even as a decoy, right? I think that Andy Reid's really creative. He knows what he can do in the offense if the guy's good with a ball in space. I mean, he's able to score on some of those big, rugby plays. I know he's not wearing pads, but I think they have 15 guys on the field. So, and that game's all about creating space. So I think that maybe, get him open for some laterals, maybe use him as a decoy, in addition to kick returns. I'm not, a coach, right? Just like I'm not a GM, I'm not a coach, I'm not a player, but some of the stuff that I saw posted online with him, I mean, he didn't exactly look like Tyreek Hill out there running routes, right? So I agree that I don't think you're going to see him as like an every down wide receiver, but it'd be fun to see a rugby guy out there as a gadget player and see what Andy Reid could draw up for him, right? Maybe have him line up as, fullback or, get him in a position where he could take like a pitch from somebody. The first thing I thought was pitches from Travis Kelce, would be awesome.
Wildcat pitch.
Yeah, have him line out like he's what 6'3", 210, something like that. I mean, he could be. Guy. Yeah, he's not quite tight end size, but get him out there maybe like in a bunch formation and throw him the ball behind the line of scrimmage type stuff. But yeah, I don't think you're going to see him out there running, the deep cross or the go routes and stuff. So
yeah. We put out there on the Chiefs Kingdom Live X account a poll about Rashee Rice Zamet, whether or not he scores a touchdown for the Chiefs this year. I want to say it was like 80%. Yeah, so people are optimistic.
Kickoff return or just a touchdown?
Just a touchdown. Does he score a touchdown for the Chiefs this year? What do you guys think? I'd like to see what the chat thinks. You think he gets in the end zone this year, Bo?
I could see them drawing up some crafty play to get him Get him some points. Yeah, sure. Why not? Let's. Yeah, I think it'd be fun. Let's get him some points. Dude, I would love to see him do a kickoff return. I'd like to see any team do any kickoff returns this year instead of just fair catching it and having that play just kind of be rendered useless. But no, yeah, let's see it. I'm all for it.
Nick? I know Nick. I know what Nick's going to say. Of course he's going to say.
Unlikely. It's unlikely that he scores a touchdown. I wouldn't bet on it.
It's unlikely he scores more than one.
No, just that he scored a touchdown. You guys see it there? Yeah. So.
Oh, it's come down a little bit.
70
the
still.
stadium vote or? Oh no! Wait,
3 out of 4 people out of
that's the other way around.
233 votes.
Yeah, he's the guy that's generated a buzz.
More than one TD.
He's the guy that's generated a buzz on social media, and people are excited to have him on the team. I would say no. I think it's going to be a tall task for him to make the team.
Well, he won't
you can have a
for
guy on your
squad.
team taking up one of 53 spots just to return kicks, but man, that's going to be a tall task just making the team, let alone getting in the end zone. But maybe he does a trick play against the Raiders and scores a touchdown. So Brenda's getting in.
If CEH can score, he surely will.
I mean, CEH has played football his whole life. Like, I don't know, man.
Travis Kelce said Andy Reid could draft a play to where his dad could score. So
yeah. I think there was a little sarcasm in that comment. But hey, look, I mean, I hope the guy comes in and is a good player and helps the team. And I think kickoff return is going to be his specialty. Whether or not you can tie up a roster spot for a guy just to return kicks, we'll see. I don't. Someone said somebody may play fullback. I don't know that he's big enough to play fullback. Maybe he is at 205 or 210. I think you've seen a lot of these fullback guys. They're like what? They're probably more like 240, 250, like guys like the Sausage and what's the other guy's name we had for a couple of years up until last year.
Who's that guy in San Francisco that's just stout as fuck? His wife
Kyle
does all the
Juszczyk.
coats. Yeah, his wife does the coats. That dude's Earl.
Yeah,
he's like a little bull.
Right. What was the fullback's name that was on the Chiefs up until last year for a couple of years? Damn, I can't think of his name.
Sherman, yeah.
Anthony Sherman retired, and this guy came in and played a couple of years after Anthony Sherman.
Oh, we were thinking like he was a guaranteed 1 yard, and he
was always doing the sneak, right?
Oh, was it?
The quick fullback draw on like 3rd and 4th and short.
What's his name? Fuck, I know what you're talking about. I know
he was on another team this year. Played against us. Damn it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't know. I think maybe the Chiefs have moved away from the fullback position. Maybe if you got a guy that's a hybrid running back / fullback. I know someone in here earlier asked about the stadium vote.
Oh. Did your city have a vote? What'd they vote? What was the news on that? I've been a little out of touch.
It's Tristan Judd.
Tristan, yeah. We'll just talk about that for a little bit. Chiefs, Jackson County voters did not approve the extension of the 3/8 cent sales tax to renovate Arrowhead Stadium and also to build a new downtown stadium for the Royals baseball team, but pretty resoundingly voted no. I think people thought it was going to be a close vote. Did not turn out to be close. In the end, the no's got it. I don't know how much that had to do with the Royals part of the vote, how much that had to do with the Chiefs part of the vote. I know a couple weeks ago, or was that last week we talked about it, right, Nick? Last week?
Mm-hmm.
Lots of reasons to vote yes. Keep the Chiefs in Arrowhead. The Royals get to move downtown. Both teams stay in Kansas City and Jackson County. It was kind of put out there that it wasn't a new tax, but it was a new tax because the other tax was going to expire. So, I mean, if it wasn't a new tax, then you wouldn't have had to vote for it, right? I mean, that's how you know it's a new tax. So, it gets voted down pretty handily. I want to say it was 58-42. The no's had it. Nick, when we talked about this last week, you were in the yes camp. I was kind of leaning towards no. As it got closer, though, to the vote and kind of the more I thought on it, I kind of got more, I was leaning more towards the yes side. I mean, I don't know. What do we think this means for the Chiefs and Arrowhead? Do you think the Chiefs try to go at it take a second crack at a vote for renovations? Do you think maybe they say, okay, well, let's see if we can't get some money to build a new stadium now since that failed? And just what did you think about the turnout in the vote and how it went down?
Wait,
Man.
I'm so sorry. I know this
You're
is
right.
like second nature to you guys. What was the vote on? I know you said 3/8 cents
Right.
sales
So that
tax to
sales
be.
tax in Jackson County, the
What
county where the
was going to
stadiums
happen
are at.
if it passed?
Are you
If
familiar
it
with the
passed,
TIF
that
vote?
they would have extended the tax out another 40 years. It was set to expire here in a few years. And it would have basically just extended the tax. They were saying it was an extension of the current tax, but it was basically the same tax, just the same amount of money on a new
Okay.
tax for
And that was
another
going to go
40 years.
towards renovations of Arrowhead, and a new Royals
And-
Stadium downtown.
and
Is that
building-
right?
Crossroads right there by
Right.
T-Mobile Center and like the
Right.
Power and Light District. You know where that is, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was that they've been paying this 3/8 of a cent for I think about 25 years since they renovated the stadiums last
Right.
time. And what they were saying was extend it for like another 40 years and then get the new ballpark and renovate Arrowhead. And so that went to vote for the Jackson County peoples. It was a county tax. The county technically owns the complexes, and they lease them to the teams. And so it did not carry the yeses. So there was like a lot of local, like the KC tenants, was like a special interest group that basically tried to drum up the no vote. The lead executive of Jackson County is Frank White, who used to play for the Royals, used to work for the Royals, was let go from the Royals. Some people say has a grudge against the Royals. He was not for this, and he was like on every local media outlet trying to get people to vote no, and it didn't pass.
What were the? Sorry to cut you off. What were the main like proponents for the no vote? Like, what were the reasoning? Like, were they trying to make goods cheaper by like cutting taxes? Like, what was their reasoning?
There was several different reasons. One of the reasons was there's a sentiment that the taxpayers shouldn't be giving billionaires free money to build their stadiums to become even more bigger billionaires. That you want a football stadium and you're a billionaire, you should build your own stadium and pay for it yourself. There's people that were saying it wouldn't have the economic impact. There was people that said that they felt threatened, which I never thought the teams threatened to leave. The only thing I ever heard anybody from either team say about leaving, they never said leave. When asked if it doesn't pass, what will you do? Both teams kind of said, well, at that point, we'd have to explore all of our other options. Well, no shit. Like that. I mean, that wasn't like they were like, well, if you don't build it, we're going to move the team out of here. They were threatened to leave. I mean, if you apply for a job and you don't get it, you explore your other options and you apply at other places, or you might reapply at the same place.
There was
that
like
could be an option too. So I thought that was kind of overblown. The whole they were threatening the taxpayer. I never really got that sense from them, but there were a lot of people that definitely got that sense.
There were some businesses that were going to be displaced,
right?
For the ballpark. One of them was like a U-Haul facility, some old warehouses, and I think like maybe a strip club.
Yeah, well, there was a church too, the Church of Resurrection.
You can't be displacing those strip clubs, Nick. Come on.
It's not even really a strip club anymore, though, because of the way the laws are in Missouri. But
so I mean, it was that. And then there's the other, like, people were saying that what the Chiefs and the Royals put forth wasn't really transparent, wasn't really fully baked. That's what Scott's argument was when we are on the show last week, where the proposed renovations at Arrowhead were kind of underwhelming for the amount of money that they're asking for, and it seemed like they were kind of rushed. I'm trying to think of what else. But a lot of the sentiment I saw was just don't give billionaires money to build their stuff, right? For them and their rich friends was like, that's what a lot of, and it's Twitter or X or whatever. So that's
Yeah,
kind of some of the
they're the source.
more, like loudest voices get promoted, but yeah, so that's really kind of the core of the issues there. So a lot of people voted no, thinking, okay, so we have until 2031 or 2030 is when the current lease runs out. So we have a few years, like we could they could work it out, come back maybe with like a better deal for us, and we can go again. And so the reason that that question came up is, people are saying, well, like there is no better deal, that was the deal. And so now like you basically have kind of put the Chiefs and the Royals up for adoption, right? And you get a chance to adopt them next year, but maybe not. Maybe they'll just go somewhere else. One of the interesting things that I didn't know is, so Kansas, in Johnson County and Wyandotte, they have Legends out there, and that's like become one of the more affluent areas. Well, when they passed sports gambling, they set aside like a tremendous amount of that money to have to lure in a sports team, right? To lure in professional sports.
Right.
Okay.
And so with that, and like I think the governor of Kansas has, without even needing to procure a vote, has up to like $1 billion that they can offer.
Yeah, but the sports gambling hasn't brought in the type of revenue they thought either. So that's
well,
that's
these are all
kinda
Twitter
like-
figures, right? So
yeah.
I mean, I didn't do the
I didn't
do that.
research beyond what I read, but yeah. So I don't know. I think that's what everybody's like. Well, they may become the Kansas City, Kansas Chiefs, right? Like it's kind of like what the 49ers did, moving to Santa Clara. They got a better deal, and so that's kind of where it's been, and what everybody it didn't happen. So
thank you for catching this dummy up. I'm not in on the beat, but I think that's where Scott's like kind of perfectly left off, right? You were saying, what do you think their next options are? Is that what you were saying, Scott?
Well, yeah. So now, now there's people that are saying like that, Jackson County missed the boat, and now the Royals are going to look to move out of town or move to a different county, and the Chiefs are going to look to move to the Kansas side of things. This happened back in 2006, and there was a vote for stadium renovations to both stadiums, and it actually didn't pass the first go around.
Okay.
The teams came back later. I want to say it was 2 years or a year and a half later with a different plan, and put it up for vote, and it passed. So I don't really know where this leaves the Chiefs and the Royals. I was surprised that the no's beat the yeses as much as they did. I was not stunned that the no's won, but look, I don't ever say Casey Tennant's on this show ever again, Nick, but
sorry.
Look, it's just like if you voted no, you have the right to vote however you want. And I'm not even a Jackson County resident, so I didn't get a vote. However, they were saying like that the economic impact to the average home in Jackson County over the course of the 40-year tax was going to be like $75 or $80 a year. I pay a hell of a lot more than that for season tickets, so I should have got a damn vote. I think like I'm doing more to support the team than the people in Jackson County are doing to support the stadiums and the team. But if you didn't like the plan and you didn't think that it was transparent enough, and you didn't like the fact that they kept changing it up until the last minute, and they didn't really take enough of the community's input into consideration when making the plan, I get that. But if you were pissed that they were threatening to leave when they never said, if we don't get this, we'll leave, they were asked about it. And they said, well, we'll explore we'll explore all our other options at that point. Well, yeah, of course that's what
including leaving the state, I think is what Mark Donovan said, right?
I mean, yeah, but that includes all other options,
yeah,
right?
Sure.
To me, a threat would have been like,
catch-all.
I mean, if you don't pass it, we've got another city that's lined up that's willing to take us. So I did not take it as a threat. And I just think that if people looked at that as a threat, then you're pretty soft and you don't understand business. and the way things work. I mean, if it doesn't, I mean, what did you think they were going to do? Just sit around and pine away and do nothing? Oh, well, this vote didn't pass, so I guess we'll just do nothing forever. Now, of course, they were going to look at all their other options. So that was kind of a silly excuse to me. The billionaires, not giving them taxpayer money. Look, here's the deal. If you want to be a major league town, the city and the taxpayer and the citizens in the community, you got to put something in. You can think that's not right. You can think that that's unfair or whatever you want to say. But, I mean, that's just the way it is, right? I mean, there's the way life should be, and then there's the way life is.
But foosball's the devil, Scotty. I'm not going to pitch in towards that.
Somebody else is willing to make that deal.
Right. Yeah.
Just
ask St. Louis and the Rams, right? I mean, they stood their ground and said, we're not going to give this rich guy money to build a stadium for his football team. And he was like, okay, well, LA will. Peace out. You know what I'm saying? Like
Oakland and the Raiders.
Oakland and the Raiders to Las Vegas. The A's in Oakland now are going to Las Vegas.
San Diego and the Chargers.
All right, we're treading on some weird territory here. What are we thinking the likelihood of this is for the Chiefs, though, right? Like, I know it's on the table now a little bit, but...
Well, no, I mean, I don't think either team's going to leave. I'm of the opinion that they'll come back in another year or so, kind of like they did last time, with maybe a little bit better plan, a little bit more of a solid plan, maybe takes more of the community's feelings and considerations and thoughts, and you know, when they're doing the plan. But I mean, if you
treat it like a government spending bill, which it sounds like it is, right? Not transparent, like, oh, just a couple $20 million here, $10 million, right? It's only 3/8 cents of a dollar on every purchase you make, right? Like, it's a little fishy.
Yeah. To me, too, the other thing is, like, if the teams do leave Jackson County, they might not even leave the city. Like, to me, I love Arrowhead. I want to keep going to Arrowhead. I want them to renovate Arrowhead and stay in Arrowhead. But if they build a new stadium out in Johnson County on the Kansas side, okay. I mean, I'm still going to go to the games.
Yep.
Right? So
still going to watch.
I mean, we're not really losing the teams. If the Royals decide to go to North Kansas City and Clay County, which was in play, or if, you know, they decide, I don't think John Sherman wants to move the Royals out of Kansas City. He's a Kansas Citian. That was part of the reason he said he bought the team, was so that it would stay here. But I'm going to tell you what, I mean, if you voted no because you got upset that they said they would have to look at other options if you said no, or because you just don't think the billionaires should get taxpayer money and you don't want to pay more taxes, if the county loses those teams and all the tax revenue that they generate every year and bring into that county, the county's not going to cut programs and stop spending money. They're just going to find another way to get it. So your property taxes and your other taxes are going to go up there, and then you're not going to have a team to show for it, right? I find it comical. Now, this is a city earnings tax, which there's multiple there's multiple counties that make up Kansas City, but the damn city earnings tax voted and passed, but the sales tax for the stadium didn't pass. I mean, if you voted for a city earnings tax and you voted against the sales tax for the stadiums, I think you're a sucker, first of all. Like, at least you're getting stadiums and something cool for your money. The city earnings tax, they pissed that away, and the roads still suck. And that money gets pilfered away so badly. So
somebody told me they fixed the potholes in KC. That is not what I experienced when I was there.
No, I mean, every once in a while they do. So, yeah, I mean, the city council is going to get a raise like they give themselves, and the mayor every year with that city earnings tax. I mean, to me, less than 0.5 cent sales tax to keep the teams in your county and your city and your part of the city, I think it was worth it.
Less than 0.5 cent you've been paying for the last 25 years already.
Yeah.
Not noticing, right?
Yeah. So I don't know.
Like, if you talk to half of those people and you're like, that point, that 3/8 cent that you've been paying in sales tax, and they'd be like, no. And they'd be like, well, they want to extend it for 40 years and give it to billionaires. And they're like, no. It's like, dude, like, you don't even notice it. Like, you don't even notice it. There's 0% chance that you, like, noticed or cared about that 3/8 of a cent. I don't know.
I mean, maybe you did beforehand, but small price to pay to be a big league city and have those teams in your county.
I think so. You asked me originally, will they get another vote? I think that what they'll probably do is like decouple, right, the Royals from the Chiefs. I think that was part of why it didn't pass. I think a lot of people were like, dude, like I don't want to give the Royals all that money for a stadium. You know, they've made the playoffs twice in the last 40 years. So I think that the Chiefs could get it to pass. And I think that, I think Clark Hunt does want to stay in Arrowhead. And so I think that they will get another vote. But there's also like part of me that, like I saw this and it's like one of those ideas that, is kind of conspiracy theory. But then you're like, man, that does kind of like maybe he felt obligated. But that's why the Arrowhead renovations were kind of like lackluster and underwhelming because they weren't serious about it and they want to go build a new stadium by Legends.
I don't know.
I mean, that's like too conspiracy theory-ish, I guess.
Yeah,
but like,
I don't know. I think Clark Hunt and that family loves that stadium because
I think so too. I think they're going to get another vote.
So that's getting a little tinfoil hat for me. But I mean,
come on now, their executive suite was built in what, the 70s, 80s. They need to update that, man. That 2-story room, the cabinets are all dated, like these cabinets. Like, come on, man, you can't have that shit in the.
But here's
the presidential
the deal, like,
suite.
We talked about this when we were talking about the vote last week. Everybody's like, oh, it's just they didn't do enough. And it's like, yeah, but if they do like a lot, then everybody's gonna be complaining that they're, it doesn't look like Arrowhead anymore. And I just what do they want? What do they want them to do? What do they want them to come up with that they're gonna be happy with renovating that stadium and paying the money? Like what? Yeah. I get that, they're like, well, like a lot of the amenities are, for the wealthy, right? And the kind of the top 1%, all of his rich friends are going to get more suites in the end zones and people get kicked out. I understand all that, but like you can't modify the stadium too much without people then getting upset about modifying the stadium. There are people that were upset after they did the last renovation. They're like, oh, Arrowhead's just not as loud anymore. And they set the world record, right? So I don't know. It seems like a precarious situation to be in. I'm glad I don't have to come up with the renderings and what they're going to do.
Yeah. I think they come back. I think the Chiefs at least come back and try to get another renovation proposal put together.
What would you guys like to see being renovated, having been there to, 30, 50 plus games? You guys go every year. What renovations would you guys like to see? Like saying like they need to take more input from the public. You guys are the public. What would you like to see?
Well, I'd like them to take like my seats and move them closer to the field somehow.
They can put a direct feed of the coach into my ear. That'd be great.
I mean, so the bridge was a good idea. I liked that because right now you can't walk around the entire stadium at the top. Like you get to the end, you have to go down, then go around, then go back up. By making that thing basically encircle the entire stadium along the top was going to make getting around the stadium a lot easier. It was also going to add restrooms and concession stands, which makes the lines shorter. So I like that. They're also talking about like covering it up, and so you got some heated stuff, some enclosed concourse area for the upper deck people, not just the club level and the lower level people. So I mean, I like that. Are
you for enclosure or like more like shade sail kind of stuff, right? You know what I mean? But like, I guess like not open, like open air. I guess that's what I'm saying. For open air or just like completely closing off Arrowhead.
I mean, I'm all for leaving it open air in the seating in the playing area in the field, definitely.
But then have the concourses.
But then have the concourse on the outside. You know how you walk through the tunnel to go to where the seats are at? You know what I'm saying? You got the concourse there. They were talking about enclosing that and making that go all the way around, and it would be heated and more concessions. I'm all for more concession stands and more bathrooms because it takes a long damn time to get a drink or something to eat once the game is started. So,
Nick, what would you like to see out of these renovations if you had to say?
One last thing I would like more access points and entryways into the into the parking lot, so that you don't have to sit there for 35. You don't have to get there 4 hours before the game starts and still have a chance of parking in lot. Oh shit, I got to park all the way out here again. Better parking, more parking spaces, more areas, and I think that could have happened with them getting rid of Kauffman Stadium, which they said they were going to put some sort of weird field out there. I was like, let's put more parking so that people don't have to park in lot O. But I mean, those would be the things I would like to see probably the most.
If they had some sort of plan to add, like, so like Denver has like their train system, you know, if they're talking about really just taking some public money and doing some stuff. And one of the big complaints about the stadium is that it's not close to anywhere. If they had a deal where you could like get on a train and it would take you to a place where you could get some food, and maybe there's like hotels and stuff, since there's not a lot there, or there are people that suggested that they had some sort of, you know, development. I mean, what they did, my biggest complaint is what they did with the Kauffman area, where they were just going to put like some turf field thing. Just seemed like a waste of that space.
Right.
So if they had some sort of plan to draw in businesses and develop some of that area. Now, Scott, you know, your point was, well, that then people aren't going to want to be there when it's not football season. I don't know how they square that, right? But something either around the stadium or something that connects the stadium in a way that's easier to get around, because, you know, the only way to get in there is by car, right? And that's part of the problem. I know that tailgating is part of the experience, but like part of the problem is that
I don't know if Nick's just froze up or if I've lost you. Nick, you good, Bo?
nope.
I'm here.
Am I back?
Yeah, you froze
We're
up
back.
there. So I guess that was you. I couldn't tell if that was my end or your end. So
All right, sorry. Did you guys hear what I said?
yeah, we did. I don't know how you could do that. I think that would cost way more money than they'll be able to raise to have some sort of like streetcar or rail car to like take you to the stadium. They don't have anything close.
It's a much
to
bigger
the stadium.
project than the stadium tax, but you're asking like what I would like to see. I mean, I
Right.
think that like
No, I get. I mean, I'd like to see that too, but I don't know that that's all that realistic. That's the only point I'm trying to make.
yeah.
With this whole tax vote and everything, there was talks of a Royal Stadium. Was there a talk of a new Chief Stadium, new Arrowhead, or just renovations?
Just renovation.
Renovations.
Yeah. Renovations.
So staying in the same spot, kind of out there,
Right
off the highway. Okay.
Yeah. So we put a poll out there. If we think the Chiefs go to the Jackson County voters a second time, looking for money for renovations and maybe a new stadium for the Royals elsewhere, or if the Chiefs just say, okay, well, we're not going to renovate Arrowhead now, and we just want money to build a new stadium somewhere else, whether that's here in Kansas City or outside of Kansas City, which I don't think would ever happen.
The Albuquerque Chiefs.
It's been a while since It's been a while since I looked at the poll up there, but I think most people are still anticipating the Chiefs giving Jackson County a second shot here. I don't know if you can bring that up or not, but it's gotten a little closer. It was up in like the 75 to 80% renovate.
Wow, almost 60-40 now.
Yeah, now it's kind of come down a little bit here, but Nick, what do you think? You think they come back for a second go at renovations, or do you think they just try to go for a new stadium now?
I think they'll come back to the table. I mean, one of the main reasons that talked me off the ledge there was I saw BJ Kissel, who I know he's not with the Chiefs anymore, but he knows that organization pretty well, I would say, from having worked there with Mitch Holthus for several years. He said there's 0% chance that they leave Kansas City, and he was saying they'll come back to the table with something. And so I feel like they will, but I mean, I'm not like sold that they will, you know what I mean?
Right.
Seems like the lowest hanging fruit.
Right? Yeah. Part of that's the tactic. Like, it's called fear of loss. It's a sales tactic. And it's like, well, like, you know, if you don't take it now, that's, you know, so I appreciate that, but I don't know. I just wouldn't have messed around. Just keep them. Yeah. Well, then they may like redo some of the renderings like that they do, but like
Right.
come up with some other shit they're going to do, but just keep the teams there. What are we doing? We're going to risk losing like our 2 major league sports teams over a tax we've been paying for the last 25 years. I don't know. It just didn't make sense to me.
And again, I don't think the cities. You keep saying losing the teams. Like the city isn't going to lose the teams. The county.
Sure. Yeah, county. Yeah, if I was in Jackson County, like I'm with you though. If it would suck to lose Arrowhead, but if they moved out to Legends, it's the same drive for me to get out there,
Right.
and then there's more stuff to do. So I mean, appreciably, like it would be the same. But I just looking at it from the perspective of the people that get to vote, right? I just didn't understand the no. I think there's like a lot of things that don't get factored in when people look at that. I mean, like if you have a bunch of millionaires that are spending a lot of time in your area, like what does that do? You know, I mean, they're like investing in their foundations. I don't know. So
Yeah. I mean, Big Doug's saying it's the 3rd oldest stadium in the NFL. I think it's the 2nd oldest, but I mean, Wrigley Field's of 100 and something years old. They're still playing baseball there. Fenway Park, 100 years old, right? I mean, I don't know. As long as the concrete holds up, I don't see any reason you couldn't play at Arrowhead. It's 50 years old last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any reason you couldn't play another 40 or 50 years and get 100 years out of that stadium.
Right. If it ain't broke, why fix it?
And then you're talking about like being the most established and the most historical and iconic stadium in the NFL at that point, right?
For that reason, though, right? Because of how old it is now and
right,
its authenticity.
Right. Some of these new stadiums too that you see, they're not that great.
Dude, yeah, they remind me of like box chain stores, like food chains that come to town, right? Like they look modern and sleek, but you get inside, it's the same crap that they were serving before they updated it.
Shelves with food on it, right? I mean, I know the Minnesota Stadium is spectacular and amazing, but I've never been to the new Miami, the Hard Rock Stadium that the Chiefs obviously won the Super Bowl in, but from what I've seen online about it and pictures of it and everything, it doesn't look like anything all that magnificent, does it? To you guys? I mean,
is that the one with the pool in the end zone?
No, that's the Jaguars.
Jacksonville, yeah.
That's Jacksonville. Well, that's an old stadium, so I don't know. Just because you get something new doesn't mean it's going to be better.
Right.
I don't. I think the Chiefs come back for a second shot at renovating Arrowhead, just because I think Clark Hunt and his family. And that stadium being their dad's dream and his vision. And also, too, like, that stadium's, like, starting to come into its own and get some of these games and some of these teams that I feel like it deserves and is destined to have. I mean, Chiefs never won shit there for a long time. Right? I mean,
dude, and that's what we like hung our hat on because like we didn't win so much. Like, well, I mean, you've been to Arrowhead, it's such a cool experience. The tailgating, the atmosphere, the noise, right? Like it was something to like you were prideful about.
That AFC Championship game against the Patriots, Patrick Mahomes' first year as a starter, that was the first championship game played in that stadium, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think they want to keep Arrowhead. I think they want to get rid of the Royals too. I think that's why the Royals. I think the Royals went to the Chiefs and were like, "Listen, like we need you to be on this with us to carry this thing to get past." And I think the Chiefs were like, "Yeah, we want to get you out of here so we can have all this space for ourselves, and we'd like to have the money for renovations. So we'll team up." But I do feel like the Chiefs will go alone. They'll go it alone this time on a second vote.
What would you guys think about a parking structure? I think that would help alleviate some of it.
I mean, I guess you could find a space for it out there.
Well, if the Royals are gone, they're just talking about putting a field there.
Yeah, they were. I don't think they'll put parking there. I mean, that was what you were asking what I wanted them to do. Like, that footprint of Coffin Stadium is about the same size as Lot O, and I'm not a fan of parking in Lot O.
It's much closer.
Just put a parking lot there.
Maybe I should stop being a cheapskate and buy the gold parkings where I don't have to park all the way out there. But Or since I usually don't charge people for my tickets when I take them to the game, I could just make them pay for the gold parking.
There you go. Like, hey, by the way, parking's $150.
Right, that almost cost me less. So maybe I can split it or something.
Still a good deal.
Right, but I'm not worried about the Chiefs leaving Kansas City. I'm not worried about the Royals leaving Kansas City, but I think Jackson County, I think they need to worry about them leaving their county and what that will do, the long-term ramifications for that county and losing that tax revenue. Because the politicians and the county legislators, they're going to try to make that money up somewhere. I think you might see your property taxes and some of your other taxes start going up if you've got to start making up for all the money. Because they bring the Chiefs and the Royals bring in a lot of money to that county.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I mean, and here's the other thing, too, is like Jackson County is missing out on the 3/8 of a cent for the stadiums, which doesn't hurt the county. But that's not the only sales tax you pay when you buy stuff in that county. You've got, 70,000 people for 10 games a year and maybe even more with playoffs coming to your county, buying gas, buying food. What's that do to the rest of your sales tax revenue? You lose that every year. There's a lot more to it than just the Chiefs and the Royals part.
Does that tax apply to the tickets? Like the season tickets that are sold? And all
I don't think so.
the game? No?
I mean, I don't know. I've never broken it down and saw what every dollar of the ticket goes to. They just say, here's how much it's going to be, and here's how much each payment's going to be. And I'm like, okay, here you go. Here's my money. So,
Shut up and take my money.
right.
Let me see what I got right here.
Hey, man, that's been some of the best money I ever spent because I got in right as the Super Bowl started. So,
Yeah.
I think about like the season ticket holders and people of like the 90s that like never got any of these championship games or Super Bowls that we get now. And like,
And Scott's sitting here like, God damn it, they haven't released the playoff tickets yet. What's going on? I'm waiting here on my phone.
right. I don't know. Is anything else you guys want to talk about? I mean, do we miss anything with the Chiefs or going on or?
Not with the Chiefs, but I don't know if you guys saw Stephon Diggs is no longer a Bill. The
Hey-o.
Bills
Yeah,
are in
that's right.
complete scramble mode. They are following right in the Chiefs' footsteps, saying, we don't need our best receivers on our team. Look what happened with the Chiefs when they got rid of their best receiver. They won the Super Bowl. I think we could do the same.
Yeah.
Pretty hilarious moves around the league. Still continuing to go on.
Is that $48 million in dead cap money for Stephon Diggs? Did you guys see that too?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Josh Allen goes to what, like 40 million this year for his cap hit?
Thank Patrick Mahomes for all these cap hits and all these quarterbacks coming to
Right.
fruition right now, right? Allen and Herbert and everybody.
Yeah, the Bills couldn't dig it, and they traded Stephon Diggs to the Houston Texans, which the Texans, they've added Joe Mixon and
Yeah, all right.
got Stephon Diggs now. Maybe they're a team that joins this elite status. I mean, they got their ass kicked by the Ravens in the playoff game last year, so let's not get too crazy with the Texans, right? They were a nice story last year. CJ Stroud looks like he's a legit NFL quarterback, but
They got some room to improve for sure.
But I'm not, what was it? Dennis Green said, if you want to crown their ass, you can crown their ass. But I'm not crowning the Texans yet. I think they're still a tier below the Chiefs. And, I guess you put the Ravens in there because they made the AFC Championship game and were the 1 seed last year. Don't know what to think of the Bengals with Joe Burrow coming off of surgery and his injury and then losing some guys.
John C., is this real? Kittle leaving San Francisco?
Is that like a late April Fool's joke, John?
I don't believe that.
I haven't heard anything about that. My thumb is off the pulse, though. I wouldn't know if that patient was alive or not right now.
Yeah, I mean, they'll miss him for the 4 games a year he's healthy for. But George Kittle, George Brittle. That's a name that one of my John V and a lot of the 49ers faithful that I know love. to use.
Dude, I haven't really seen
What-
their situation. They got to be in cap hell right now. They got some
Yeah, I
studs
don't know.
they got to
They
pay for.
right. They traded a lot for Chase Young to come in last year and didn't get it done. Didn't cash in. They kind of moved their they didn't go all in, but they went pretty heavy in and
Yeah, they've got a rookie
didn't pan
quarterback
out.
contract.
Going back to this Bills trade, what do we think that means for the Bills this year? Are they not in the top tier of AFC teams this year? Do you think they're still up there or what, Bo?
Dude, I'm trying to think of Stephon Diggs' year this year. He wasn't like,
He was good.
yeah, he was good, but he wasn't, you know.
They said after week 6 he didn't have a 100-yard game.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think, right? Like he wasn't the
It's not
Stephon
just
Diggs
him,
of
it's Gabe
past.
Davis too,
And
right? So
yeah.
Yeah, I
You
think
just
I
heard
saw
all
a
that
stat.
shit during the preseason and in between last season about Diggs and Josh Allen kind of having a scrum and all that. And whether it's, you know, Diggs or Josh Allen, who knows? But I don't know. Part of me's wondering if Diggs just isn't the same player he once was, or if it was just the situation he was in Buffalo. But I'm really curious to see if this is a good move for Diggs. I mean, because he had a couple of years where he was just a stud, like damn near uncoverable.
Right. Yeah, no, he was one of the 2 or 3 best wide receivers in the NFL there for a stretch. Didn't really do a lot in the playoffs, especially the playoff games against the Chiefs. But
with those
yeah.
guys, they needed, you know, to win out their last several games to make the postseason. I know they're the 2 seed, but they were 1 game away from us in the playoffs.
Right.
So I think it's got to hurt them, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I would think so.
I don't know who they have to fill those shoes. I mean, I saw online earlier that Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis were like 46% of the Bills' receiving yards last year.
Jesus.
I mean,
it's a hell of a void to fill.
I think the Dolphins are the favorite in that division now. You guys agree with that?
I could see why. Yeah, easily. Yeah. Who would argue that right now? I mean, it seems like the Bills are in disarray, right? They're like, well, we should have never hung that banner up in our facility last year. This is really backfiring on us. What should we do?
Fake trophies was a
Panic!
bad idea.
Hit the panic button. Trade everybody.
Tear it down. Get it down.
Tear it all down. Tear it all down.
When we beat them in the playoffs, I think we broke the Bills.
We broke them more than once.
Dude.
It took a couple of good smacks with the old.
I mean, just think about that. Just go back and think. The Chiefs beat the Bills in the AFC Championship game.
Which infamously had Diggs standing there in the confetti, like with his back, just
watching the celebration for motivation for the next year. Then the 13-second game, and then the game they lost at home to us last year. I mean, there's not more like who's your daddy than the Chiefs to the Bills in the NFL right now. I don't know who it is, but
I'm not going to discredit the Bills' run at the end of the year last year, but man, they shouldn't even have been there in the first place. Kadarius Toney lining up 2 toes off sides, called back their season being ended when we faced them the first time before. What was that, Christmas or right after Christmas?
Yeah. So I don't know. I think the Bills. I think they're. I mean, I don't know if they're rebuilding. If that's the right term to use, I don't know what they're doing right now, but.
Renovating.
What is the term? Renovating.
You know, and
like
Diggs isn't like Josh Allen. I thought they were best buddies. Remember, they were best friends when he first got there. I think Stephon Diggs can be a problem too.
You think he's like an Odell? Like he's like
I think he can be a pain in the
problem
ass when
receiver
things are going his way. And here's the thing too, like
get his family chirping in and shit.
He gets mad at Josh Allen in the playoff games that they lose, but he hasn't really done a lot in those games. And he said, "Well, he didn't throw me the ball." Well, you're not open. I mean, Stephon Diggs dropped the bomb against the Chiefs last year.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, dude, you got a hand in all these playoff failures too, bro. Like, it ain't just Josh. And so, I don't know. If you're the Texans, do you really want that guy coming to your team? And
with your young quarterback?
With your young quarterback? I don't know, man. I don't know how good of a move that is for either team. Like, I kind of feel like the Bills, like, they needed Stephon Diggs, and Josh Allen kind of needed Stephon Diggs. And I don't.
It was a big part of their offense and their identity. That's
Right,
for sure.
and I don't know how you replace that if you're the Bills, and if you're the Texans, man, if it don't go his way, he's gonna be a pain in the ass.
Am I missing somebody on the Bills that like? Okay, so like when Diggs was on the Vikings, right? Justin Jefferson was in the wings, was also a stud. And they're like, hey, we got this kid right here. Is there somebody on the Bills I'm missing where they're like, oh yeah, we have this guy right here? Like, why do we?
No, I mean that was the thing. Like
Yeah.
Josh Allen took off when Stephon Diggs got there.
Right.
Josh Allen's first year, he was good and he had a lot of rushing stats. And people are like, oh, well, man, he's better than we thought. But he was not. I mean, once Stephon Diggs got there his second year is when that team really took off. And everybody was, oh, no, this team's a Super Bowl contender. Josh Allen's an MVP candidate. So it's kind of what I'm saying. Like, by losing Diggs, that was kind of the guy that helped your quarterback launch. You know what I'm saying? And
He
you
wasn't
lose that guy, and now you're the Texans, and he comes there and he starts not getting his way and is unhappy and starts chirping to the media and being a pain in the ass in the locker room. Like, I don't know how good of a move that is for either team, honestly.
Yeah. What were you saying, Nick?
I said Josh Allen wasn't really seen as elite until he got Diggs.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. And maybe they go out and draft a guy, or maybe they've got a guy they like. What's that
So
guy?
if he is that
here,
but if he is that, like, okay, your Doug just brought this up perfectly. If he is that poison pill, does that mean Buffalo got better then, getting rid of like the prima donna on their receiving core a little bit?
yeah. I mean, I don't know who the Bills have to replace him.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I mean, the Texans had a good offense last year without Stephon Diggs. Like, I feel like the Bills needed Diggs in his production, even though if he was a little bit of a pain in the ass when things didn't go his way. I don't really feel like the Texans really needed him, you know?
The Bills were obviously willing to not only trade him, but take a huge hit to trade him.
Right.
So,
yeah, they only got like a second-round draft pick for him, right? Or something like that?
Yeah, it was not much. And the Bills gave up like a couple of draft picks, too, with Diggs.
Wow.
They wanted to get rid of him. It's pretty obvious.
yeah.
Josh Allen's their guy. You're always going to take the quarterback over the diva wide receiver every time.
But evidently, they didn't
move.
tell Josh Allen they were doing it beforehand. Like, he woke up and they were like, yeah, he must have saw the news when he woke up today.
Yeah, I don't know.
It seems like there's some weirdness in that organization.
Reminds me of like the Aaron Rodgers situation, right? Like it doesn't seem like management, coaches, and players are all on the same page a little bit. Whereas you look at our organization, you're like, there's no like behind the back moves that I'm aware of. No like real sneakiness. It seems like everything was out in the open. Like even Snead stuff, you're just kind of like, yeah, he might go. I mean, it's kind of our MO to do that. We would like to see him, but it wouldn't. Everybody was saying like we wouldn't hold it against him if he went somewhere else, and that was kind of obvious. But these moves just seem, like I said, like the league is scrambling to do something to keep up with us.
No, they are. I mean, everybody's chasing the Chiefs. When you're the dynasty and you've been to 4 of the last 5 Super Bowls and won 3 of them, I mean, you're the hunted. You're at the top of the mountain, and everybody's trying to catch you. But like we said a couple weeks ago, I mean, a lot of the other teams are still in the parking lot. They ain't even started climbing the mountain yet. So I will see what that move does for the Bills and for the Texans.
It's going to be a great year for sure. It's going to be fun to watch.
Who's your top 3 before we get out of here? Let's just who would you say is your top 3 teams in the AFC next year? I don't know which one of you guys wants to go first, Bo. I mean, I'll go first if you guys want to think about it.
No, I'll go ahead and go first. I'll say us, the Dolphins. We've been talking about the Texans, right? I really liked what CJ Stroud did. I mean, I was a little biased towards him. I drafted him on my fantasy league a little early, so I was like, "Oh, look what I did! I drafted this guy, and I didn't do shit, right? He did all the work." But just really liked what I saw out of those guys. But I mean, Miami just kind of poised to be the same team they are, like really hot at the early start of the season, set off of the season, and then as the weather kind of turns cold, we'll see them turn cold. But they're always going to be. They're going to be a player, not always now with the weapons they have, but then us, yeah, that would be my top 3. What about you, Nick?
Let's see. Chiefs. We'll go Ravens. And I'll take a wild card here. I'll go Browns. The Browns did a lot with a lot of injuries. If they had been healthy, I think they would have gone. They would have been a tougher team to contend with. So
Yeah. I guess this is maybe a dumb assumption on my part, but I just assume Joe Burrow is going to come back next year and be as good as he has been. So I still think they are the class of that division. Although that division's gotten tougher, right? The Steelers, they've made some moves. They brought in Russ Wilson.
Russ Wilson.
We saw what a great move.
Watch out what they're cooking in
Broncos.
Pittsburgh.
No,
Russ Wilson.
Justin Fields with the Steelers is interesting.
Yeah, that actually is pretty interesting.
Talented guy on a team with a coach that knows how to coach. They could be a formidable opponent if Justin Fields can kind of progress and take that next step there. But, I think I'm going to go Chiefs, Bengals. Rodgers is healthy.
Jets.
I don't think I can put them in the top
Ooh,
three. I might put them top five, but I don't. I just don't have the faith in the Tua that you've got, Bo, to put them up there. So
I don't have faith in Tua. I have faith in his weapons.
I'll have Chiefs, Bengals, Texans, top three.
I gotta clarify real quick before saying something like that. I got faith in HN. I got faith in Hill. I got faith in Waddle. I got
quarterback
faith.
League, Bo. We all know this.
Sure. Look at Brock Purdy, though. When you surround yourself with weapons, dude, it's pretty easy to succeed to a certain point. That's why I said they'll be good, but they're not going to be Super Bowl contenders by any means. Right. But they're going to be the one that everybody's like, watch out for the Dolphins again.
I thought Miami at first, and I picked the Browns just to be a little different.
Did you see us play the Dolphins in the playoffs last year and kick the shit out of them?
It was minus 30.
Yeah, it was like
we looked good. Minus 30. We looked good. I'm looking forward to the drafts coming up here soon.
John C's got the Chiefs, Ravens in Miami. The Ravens are an interesting one. I don't feel like they're going to be the same team they were last year. I don't know.
Yeah. The Browns to me are an interesting team. I think they have a chance to be really good, but I just don't know about their coach, and I just don't know what Deshaun Watson's going to do.
Yeah.
Wild card.
Too much of a question mark.
They made the playoffs with Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point to the team aspect.
Joe Flacco was balling though, man. Like he was playing damn good football for that 4 or 5 week stretch there, man. I mean, I don't know.
Boy, but then did he fall off? When he fell off, he did hard.
To the Houston Texans, and that defense destroyed him. But hey, he got a payday with the Colts, so
there you go.
Him, man.
But we didn't even talk about the Chiefs signing Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I saw that.
Carson Wentz.
I thought it was an April Fool's joke, man. There's so much news I got on. I was just like, how old is this? Did they release this at 11:59 last night?
I think Carson Wentz is better than Blaine Gabbert.
It's a good backup. It's a good backup.
Yeah,
that's a solid move. Yeah, how the hell did we not bring that up when we were talking about players earlier? That's my fuck up there. Carson Wentz, newest member of Chiefs Kingdom. Well, yeah, he's still the newest member of Chiefs Kingdom. People are saying Clyde Edwards-Helaire's back. I was like, he never left. He's been here the whole time.
In my mind, he's been gone for a while.
I was hoping he was gone. He was gone in my mind, man. Trust me, after that Super Bowl. But Carson.
I like the Carson Wentz move.
Patrick Mahomes, God forbid something happens and he goes down, you're in trouble. But you're not going to replace Patrick Mahomes. But I feel like Carson Wentz is a guy that I think he could come in and hold the fort down. People are saying he's the best backup that Patrick Mahomes has ever had. I think Chad Henne would have about that. Anything is possible, but
that's the perfect example to bring up, right? Like at any given point in a season, you can be called up to fill in Patrick Mahomes' shoes for a game in the divisional round of the playoffs or something. You know what I mean? Something like I'm with you. I feel like that's just a better call when you're like looking at the rap sheet. And you're like, oh, I got Carson Wentz or Blaine Gabbert. Yeah, I'm gonna go Carson Wentz.
Yeah, Chad Henne came in and held his own in 2 playoff games, right? That ended up being wins. So,
right.
I don't know if he's better than Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz was an MVP candidate, though, right? At one point in his career. Or did he win MVP with the Eagles?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think he won it, but he was in the running. I mean, Carson Wentz was hot there for a couple of years, man. Like, he was damn good. In
and then he hurt
Philadelphia.
his knee and he got that concussion and he just wasn't the same.
So
Has he been on like 4 teams since, right? He's been on like the Commanders,
the Colts,
Colts,
the Rams.
Was he on the Rams too?
Yeah. Yeah, he was on the Rams last year, I believe. Pretty sure. He took over the backup role for because Baker Mayfield, right, went to Tampa, and so they brought Carson Wentz in as the backup to replace Baker Mayfield. So
gotcha. Okay, yeah, I remember this now.
Yeah, Big Doug, I've heard that about Carson Wentz, but I guarantee you Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Andy Reid will get that shit in check real quick.
Nothing more humiliating, or I guess being more humble than walking into a locker room full of Super Bowl champions and you don't got shit to your name, right? Like, what are you going to do in the locker room?
He's got a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, the Eagles, right?
He didn't play, but he's got one.
Yeah.
Wentz is about to have 2 rings. Carson Wentz will have 2 more rings than the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals
combined.
Right.
Oh man,
and on that note,
dude, is that Super Bowl thing you got back there? Is that thing twinkling?
Yeah,
sure is,
bro. I just now noticed that. I'm like, is that thing glistening?
If I find myself back in Kansas City, it might find itself into your basement. But dude, I'm telling you, trying to get it there might be pretty tough.
You have to like pack it in some peanuts or something.
It needs like a refrigerator box. The thing's huge.
You got that thing from your mother-in-law? You ain't giving that thing up. Giving that away? You're tripping.
Once the lights burn out, you can have it.
Well, thanks. I'll fix those. No, yeah, that's sweet. But yeah, well, I think that's about everything. We'll be back next week. Who knows what'll happen in Chiefs Kingdom between now and then? But if anything, if this off season has proven anything, it's never dull and it's never boring in Chiefs Kingdom and the dynasty. We're gonna be pretty close to the draft at that point. Schedule release be coming out before too long. Can't wait for that. Appreciate everybody watching. It's great to see Big Doug and Brenda and Laney and Kevin and John C. and Maria. Everybody in the chat.
Everybody in the chat. Thank you guys.
Good to see everybody. As always, make sure click or tap that like and that subscribe. That helps us out. We're trying to get to 1,000 followers before the season starts. It's a tall task, but if everybody was subscribed right now would just get 1 or 2 more people to subscribe, we get there.
If all 126 viewers would just hit that subscribe button, we'd be almost there.
We'd be almost there. So tell your friends, tell your family, help spread the word. We'll be back next Wednesday to talk about the Chiefs. Until then, let's go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs.
Let's go Chiefs.